ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Starcastic Remarks, the first edition of the off season for the 2023 schedule for us here on THPN. Thank you to DraftKings Sportsbook and Raycon for being our sponsors. Alongside James, my name is Ryan. Unfortunately, this is our first podcast, like I mentioned, after the Stars lost in Game 6, but we have a lot to talk about. We're not going to talk about it all in one episode because we would probably be here for the next 5 hours, James. I'm not joking, considering how much this team has. So let me ask you, how are you doing? Tell everybody what you told me right before we came live here, because it's depressing. Okay. It's depressing.
It was sad, but so when after we finished the podcast after Game 6. I didn't have the heart to take off my jersey, and I wore it all the way until 2 a.m, where finally I decided I wanted to go to sleep, and that's when I took off my jersey. 2 a.m. the next day before I took off the jersey.
And what, the game ended at like 9:30?
Yeah, it ended early. I put it on before the game started and had it on all day, pretty much. I wore it all day.
Yeah, so... Okay, so yeah, there's a lot of fans that are already talking about things off-season wise, which we're going to kind of talk about throughout the duration of the off-season. There's so much to talk about. I mean, it's ridiculous. You can't pick one. But really what we want to do with this episode tonight, James, is kind of just go through each of the players, talk about the seasons that they had, and let's kind of give them a rating. And then maybe we can talk about our favorite moments, anything that kind of stands out to us about this particular season, and then we'll wrap it up. We'll put it in a bow, and then a week from now or so, we'll come back and we'll really revisit, what's going to happen with Pavelski after next season. Do we re-sign Domi? What about Dadonov? What do we do to fix the defense, which is probably the obvious thing that the Stars need to work on. We'll talk about that a lot as we go through, because we got a bunch of time before next season. But what I would really like to do first off, James, is let's kind of tame the negativity a little bit just to begin with, because I think we need to talk about
this. To begin with, Ryan, you got to talk about Game 6.
Yes. Okay. So I got to talk about Game 6. And by the way, I actually was working. I wasn't just wasn't being a pity party. Oh, shut up, James. I hate you. Screw you. But it was the worst way to end such a great season.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of the players discussed it in their exit interviews today. I didn't watch everybody's, but from what I did watch, they didn't deserve that. Now, they deserve the outcome in Game 6, but the way the Stars played this season, they did not deserve going out that way, if that makes any sense. And
they did it to themselves, though, in the end.
They did. And then, I do want to talk about Jamie Benn for a second, because he's not that dynamic player anymore. So I know that some of us were expecting him to come in and be this rock'em sock'em robot, Jamie Benn, and kind of take over a game, but he doesn't do that anymore. And they didn't look good for the whole game, James.
It really, this series and this playoffs proved to me that, the team is mostly moved on from Ben. It really has. He's still there, and he's still the presence in the locker room. But in terms of on ice production, what you get, when you need a goal, Ben isn't the one who's scoring it anymore. It's not. It's Robertson or Hintz. Pavelski scores some. You get, honestly, I felt like we got more clutch goals from Wyatt Johnston than we did from Ben.
And we even got some from some unlikely contributors and Luke Glendening and Ty Dellandrea and stuff like that. We didn't get from Jamie Benn. And that's fair. But this kind of goes into my next topic. And we're going to discuss this first because it needs to be tamed down tremendously. Two things. First off, Jamie Benn does not need to be traded, nor will he be traded.
I don't think anyone would take it anyway.
Okay, but I don't want to trade Jamie Benn. Are you kidding me? I understand that let's go into this first, actually.
Oh, we're just
You're
gonna
not
go into trading Jamie
not
Benn first.
stripping the C from Jamie Benn.
Oh yeah,
Okay?
definitely not.
2 games, he made a mistake. He knows he made a mistake. The whole team knows he made a mistake. You don't base off a player's ability to be a captain off of 2 games.
Yeah, and
okay, I'm sorry. That's anybody that's saying that you need to look into stripping the captaincy from Jamie Benn. That's not a good idea.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm sorry, but who are you going to give it to? Who are you going to give it to? We have other players that can do it, but Joe Pavelski is not the guy who is Jamie Benn. Miro Heiskanen is not the guy like Jamie Benn. Jason Robertson is not the guy like Jamie Benn. Rope Hintz is not the guy like Jamie Benn.
You're looking at it right now. Probably your best choice is Otter. Like, honestly. But the dude's been on this team for 14 years, 14 seasons. I mean,
you don't get rid of a player like that. You don't.
You don't. There's no one else who's given more to this team and who has done more for this team than Jamie Benn.
I think I understand that he's got a $9.5 million cap hit, but there's 2 things about this what I'm looking at. First off, they're strictly looking at the playoffs, which is fair. Okay, which is fair to do. But the guy scored 33 goals this season.
And he posted his best shot percentage in his career.
And he was a beast on the power play. I mean, you're not
first off, you're
not going to replace you are not going to replace somebody of that veteran status on a Dallas Stars team like Jamie Benn. And then second off, what are you going to do with 33 goals? Now, I'm not expecting them to score 30 goals again next season. I think this was just a Renaissance season, and he came back and he's gonna roar again.
I don't know, but if he plays with Wyatt again, and you get Stankoven on that line too, that he might get even better.
Yeah, and that's another offseason topic. We'll talk about Stankoven too when we get there. But I mean, I would expect 20 to 25 goals at the least. 30 would be amazing again. But anybody that's saying that you need to strip Jamie Benn of the C it's a dumb idea. I'm sorry. I don't normally call out other fans saying stuff like that, but
the idea,
it's a dumb idea and
it's
a stupid idea.
Yeah, the idea of it just doesn't make sense. I mean, the only other person on the team who would make sense to have it is Joe Pavelski, and he's been here for 3 years. No, just no.
It's not. It's Jamie Benn's team. It's not Joe Pavelski's team. It's not Hintz's team. It's Jamie Benn's team, regardless of his performance on the ice or what he does. The only reason why this, in my opinion, why the series went to 6 games is because they had some sort of motivation, even though they were all dead dog tired, beat down, and injury riddled. It was the only reason why it got to game 6. And then when Jamie Benn was back in the lineup, they didn't have anything else to fight for at that point. There's no motivation. So I would argue that. And the second thing about that, Jamie Benn getting traded is not going to help us out with a cap. And here's the other thing that you're going to think about. Next season, the cap is going to skyrocket. I mean, by numerous millions of dollars, probably 4 or 5, maybe even upwards of $6 or $7 million. And that $9.5 million cap hit is not going to look as bad next summer as it does this summer. Okay. That's just the way that it is. You have to start looking at the percentage of the cap that he takes up. And yes, right now, he and Seguin both take up a lot of cap space.
Yeah. But the biggest thing for me when people talk about how much cap space they take up, we already have the young players that we need to have signed for multiple years. I mean, we are good in terms of that. We don't have a reason that we need more cap. The only reason that you would think is, okay, let's go out and get a better free agent, which there are not a lot of good free agents out this offseason either.
Yeah, and again, we'll talk about that when we get there too. But it's just stupid. It's not smart to trade Jamie Benn. It's just not going to happen. And it's a 10-minute side conversation before we get into the actual season. Let's talk positively about this team, okay? Let's talk positively about this team, okay? So we talked about Jamie Benn. Let's just go ahead and give him, let's just rate him on how you think his season went. If you were going to give Jamie Benn a grade, you can give him an an A, B, C, D, or F, and you can do a plus or minus, whatever, however you want to do it, James. But what grade would you give Jamie Benn and why?
Just based off of what I was expecting from him, it's an A+. I mean, the dude had a monster season. He had a career high shot percentage. He had a career high face-off percentage. I mean, that's ridiculous. He's been on the league for 14 years, and that was the best he's done in face-off and shot percentage. So to say he had an amazing year might be an understatement. Yeah, A+, definitely.
Well, I mean, when you get 33 goals, 45 assists, 78 points in 82 games, and that like doubles your point total from the year before, that's significant. So I'm not going to give him an A+. I'm going to give him an A-, mostly just and
he was
this
second on the team in scoring.
I know.
Boo.
But I'm going to give him...
You're going to rate Roope Hintz a C-? Is that what you're rating him?
No, I'm going to give him a D. He never skated fast enough. No, I'm just kidding. But the only thing that kind of hits me is that just he tanked his team at the wrong time, and this is where I will let his cross check on Mark Stone affect it. Is that it was absolutely at the wrong time. Absolutely at the wrong time. So that's just what I think and what I believe. So, okay. What else? What's another player that you would like to talk about, James? I picked the first one. We talked about Jamie Benn. Who do you want to talk about next?
Let's go down to the fourth line. Let's go to Luke Glendening because he's a free agent, right?
He is.
So let's do Luke Glendening. I mean, we get out of what we expect from him. He's fourth liner, wins faceoffs like crazy, plays amazing on the power play. He played 70 games, 3 goals, 3 assists, 6 points. So, yep, that's about what I expect from a fourth liner.
So, what would you give him grade wise, though?
He C+. He passed.
That's kind of what I'm thinking too. Is I think I'm gonna give him a C+. No, I'll give him a B-. I'll give him a B-.
I honestly really, really like Luke Glendening. I don't know why. I think I have a thing for certain fourth liners because like I liked Como and Cogliano too from the bubble run. And I love
they were our third line technically.
Yeah, true, but they shouldn't have been. They were supposed to be fourth line, and then people got hurt. But that's not the point. Anyway, I mean I just love the work that those dedicated fourth liners who are always in the NHL year after year give you. Because I mean, the only way that you are going to consistently stay on the fourth line is if you do one thing, like 1 or 2 things really, really well, and you just outwork everything else that you can't do as well. So that's what it kind of feels like. And that's most fourth liners.
I think the thing that gets overlooked a lot about Glendening especially is his ability to be on the penalty kill. And he wins faceoffs at the right time in the defensive zone. He is a staunch penalty killer. I mean, he's got to be one of the reasons why the Stars had one of the best PKs in the National Hockey League this season. So I don't know about the whole re-signing thing for Luke Glendening. How old is he?
I don't know. Let me check real quick. He's 34. He's old.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you get him for like 1 million again, and he's still on the fourth line killing penalties for you, that's a great deal. It's more, I think a lot more of it is going to come down to what he wants to do now.
So I really hope they re-sign him, but if he's looking for like 2 million, I don't think that he's coming back. But he was very good for the Stars this year. I'll give him a B-.
He was awesome, and he's been awesome for the past 2 years. I mean, both years he's been really, really good. And the thing where I think we kind of get like, I don't know if we want to sign him back for $2 million is because we have these younger guys coming in. I mean, people are gonna start forcing their way onto this roster, and it's just a matter of time before you start getting these entry level contracts, which are just cheap as crap. I mean, this cheapest thing ever, but you can just use it somewhere else if you have a young player come in.
All right, I'll do another one. Let's take a look at Jake Ottinger. And let's talk about how he did. So coming out of the playoffs, as soon as Game 6 was over, Pete DeBoer already was mentioning the fact that he was facing some injuries throughout the postseason, which 100% makes a lot of sense at this point.
And he was
he was so inconsistent. He would have a really good game, and then he would have a really bad game, and that was just not the way that he had played throughout the regular season all that much. So, how would you rate Jake Ottinger? How would you rate Jake Ottinger
on the season altogether?
On the whole season and the postseason.
The dude was a monster. I mean, I'm gonna give him an A+ too. He was the first year he's truly been like the number one, no questions asked. Because last season he still fought his way onto the roster, and which is a complete joke, by the way. He should have been on the roster the whole time. But he bests everything this year again. I mean, all of his stats are better than last year, and we thought he was amazing last year. And he was one of the most played goaltenders in the league. So I don't think we could have asked for any more from him, honestly.
I think the thing that we're going to look back on, and this is something that I think is really going to be kind of a thing with him. We need another goaltender that can play more games than, I mean, Jake Ottinger got overplayed this year. I really think.
Played 62 games.
So one of two things needs to happen, and I think it's the first one rather than the second one. Wedgwood needs to play a lot more games. He needs to be able to play way more games. And I know a part of it, the reason why Ottinger was relied upon a lot was because Wedgwood was hurt, and they didn't trust either Adam Scheel or Matt Murray to go in and do okay. But that means that the depth in goaltending for the Dallas Stars is not good enough. So I don't know if you need to go out and get a fourth guy who will mostly play, backup for the Texas Stars and then get called up when, Ottinger or Wedgwood have some sort of injury or something. Yeah. But I just the other option is you just go out and you get another goaltender, and then Wedgwood gets pushed down to the minors, which I don't think you want to do. Wedgwood has been good for us. I think he just needs to be put into the net more, and he's got to stay healthy, and that directly correlates to the success of Jake Ottinger next season as well. So for me, for Ottinger, I'm going to give him an A. I can't give him an A+, but I'll give him an A because he did very well this year.
Yeah.
And the only thing that's keeping him back is the fact that he got hurt.
Yeah. I mean,
so I think that's really what it was.
Just his regular season stats were insane. He played 62 games, went 37, 11, and 11, had a .919 save percentage, 2.37 goals against average, and 5 shutouts. The dude was a monster. like this, if this is his normal regular season, then we are truly just like set. The other thing I wanted to talk about with goalies is I didn't think that Matt Murray looked bad, honestly, but he definitely looked like he wasn't ready to be in the NHL yet. So I feel like after a full year with the Texas Stars, we might be able to rely on Murray a little bit more, but we'll see how that pans out.
Yeah, I'm not so sure how he's gonna do in the future. I think he is a legit prospect like Ardell mentions in chat over there, but
He's not
I mean,
very
goalies need so much more time. They really do. It's not like you
Otter is the
can.
exception to the rule,
Yes, yeah.
not the rule.
But even then, he's what, 23, 24,
I think
right?
he's Otter's
Yeah.
24, I think.
Okay,
24,
so that's really young for a goalie. That's
yeah.
really young for a goalie. So we'll just have to see how it goes with that. But I don't know. Okay, your turn. I picked Ottinger. Who do you got?
I wanted to do Nils Lundqvist.
Ooh, that's an interesting one.
Yeah, because it really is interesting. Because like, I don't think he played that bad when he was in, but there was obviously something that the coaches saw that we didn't see, because he didn't play the last 8 games of the regular season, or more than that even, I think it was.
No, it was way more than that. It was like the last.
And he didn't play in the playoffs at all. So, I mean, he still ends up playing. He played 60 games on the season, had 6 goals, 10 assists, and for 16 points. I mean, he truly wasn't that bad when you look at his stats, which I guess is why it's such a hard one to judge, because if you just look at him on paper, you're like, that was fine. But someone they see something that I don't see.
I don't know what I would give him though, because he still played a majority of the season. He played more than 40 games.
I think my problem with it is that we really wanted him to play with Heiskanen. That's what we wanted, because we wanted to get Heiskanen on his dominant side, because that's when he scores goals, is when he's on his dominant side. And we wanted Lundqvist to be that replacement. I mean, we gave a first round pick for him. So this is something that Jim Nill doesn't do. He traded away a first round pick for this dude.
He never does that.
And he didn't end up playing the entire season. And I feel a lot of that is going to be really tough for him, because that means that it's not one of these situations like with Harley where you can bring him up, throw him back down in the minors, he can keep playing. He wasn't playing for the end of the season. He was healthy scratch for the end of the regular season all the way through the playoffs. He didn't play. So I don't know how or if that hurts development at all, but I'm hoping to see him back again next year. But for this season, it's
got to be a D, right?
He's got to fail.
Because
which is so frustrating, but he didn't do what we needed him to do.
Right, and you have to look at the expectation that we had for him, right?
Well,
our expectation for him was at the very least get into the lineup, right? He's playing.
And he got beat out.
And he got beat out by Miller, by Harley when Harley got called up, and then they even relied on Hanley.
Season.
Yeah, I mean, they relied on Hanley more than they did Lundqvist in the playoffs. So
the good thing is that he's still 22, so he'll be fine. But he wasn't what we needed this year.
Well, is this a situation that is very similar to Harley? So Harley came up.
So.
Now, Harley did not play as many games as Lundqvist did this past year.
I think the difference is the skill is there for Lundqvist. I mean, it is fully there.
Well, it was there for Harley too, but Harley was not ready to play.
Well, Harley is a giant. You can throw Harley up there. He's just big and he can move everybody around. Lundqvist is 5'11". I mean, he doesn't break the 6 foot. And in the Vegas series, everyone on Vegas's blue line is over 6 foot. Every single one of them. So in terms of defensemen, he's kind of small, but that's where I think he's kind of set up to fail when we expect him to play that first line or even second line minutes, or I guess pairing minutes, I should say. But I think he'll be fine. I think he's just going to have to learn how to play defense better, just like you said Harley did. I mean, the thing,
But
the
does
difference
that
for
mean he
me
has
is
to get sent to the AHL to do that though, so he can get top pairing
he
minutes
might.
at the AHL? But the
He
thing
might.
is
I
that's
don't
the
know if
whole
he's going to
reason
want to do
why.
that. Yeah.
Exactly. That's the whole reason why he left New York and why he wanted to trade from the Rangers is because the
Well,
Rangers were not
the,
letting him play in the top 6 at all, and he
the
didn't want to go
difference,
to the AHL.
the difference, I think, here is that now he's had it kind of proven. Like, hey, twice in a row, you gotta figure something out because all these other defensemen are beating you out. And obviously he has the skill. He gets the goals. He gets the points. He moves the puck like crazy. But it's something on the defensive side that he's missing.
One player I'd really like to see him watch, and I don't know why it's popping into my head. Well, no, I know why it's popping in my head. It's because he's a smaller guy. Is Jared Spurgeon in Minnesota? He's the captain of Minnesota Wild. He's not the guy by any stretch of the imagination, but he is very clearly a top
Monster.
2 defenseman for a pretty good Minnesota Wild team. As much as we hate Minnesota Wild and the Wild fans, we have to admit we have to admit that he's a good defenseman. So maybe that's something that Nils Lundkvist can look at and say, hey, he's a smaller guy, but I mean, still Lundkvist is way, way taller than Spurgeon. I think Spurgeon is 5'7". I think.
I have absolutely no clue.
So he's tiny.
I think bottom line though, this isn't going to be the last we see of Lundkvist. He'll be back. He's just got to figure something out in the offseason.
Yeah. Okay. Final grade. I gave him a D.
Yeah, I'm kind of there with you too.
Okay. All right. Is it my turn?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I'll go with we'll go with an obvious one because we need to sing praises. But Joe Pavelski.
Oh my word, dude.
Can I give him a distinction? A plus plus plus.
Let's just give him an S plus. That's the
plus.
distinction.
Okay, there we go. S plus.
The dude's a monster. He's almost 40. How does he just keep playing? I don't understand. He passes Alexander Ovechkin and Sidney Crosby in active players in playoff goals.
That's incredible.
What? He's not even talked in the same room as those people. But I mean, you look in the playoffs, he has just as much success in terms of goal scoring, if not more than them. And in terms of just goals, he does have more.
And while we can look at certain players like, Robertson and Ben and Ottinger, who had really good regular seasons, but not so much, top tier playoffs. Pavelski had a top tier playoff. I mean, when you have a 4-goal game, the game after coming back from a major injury and a concussion like that at his age, that's freaking ridiculous, man. It's just absolutely ridiculous. And the other thing is what it proved, like when they lost him in the Minnesota Wild series, it showed how much that he means to the success of Robertson, and specifically Robertson. Hintz was kind of okay, and he did his own. I say okay, he was amazing. But specifically Robertson, it shows how much Robertson relies on Pavelski. And I don't think it's a coincidence that Robo didn't do as good and Pavelski was out. So
I'm still not convinced that was the case for Robertson because he still didn't score in the second series either. It took all the way till the conference finals before it finally seemed like he figured it out. And it seemed more like a him thing than a Pavelski helping him. Regardless, though, if you want to move to Jason Robertson, since we just segued into him like that,
I'll give him one less plus than Joe Pavelski. He's 23. He's not 39.
The all-time points record for the Dallas Stars. That's pretty insane for a 23-year-old. That's really, really exciting to see. He's well over a point per game. His shot percentage was still 14.7 after taking 313 shots on the season.
Which way more than eclipses any of his other seasons.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
it's not even close.
He was shooting like a mad dog this year. So I'm really excited to see how far Jason Robertson can go, because right now it looks like he is the next Madonna for this team.
And what gives me hope, and the only reason why I would do one less plus for Robertson in all reality is just because he didn't show up in the playoffs in the first 2 rounds. He absolutely showed up for the third round. He scored 5 goals. I mean,
and
he was
that's where my like hope comes in. I'm hoping that now that he's finally broken. I mean,
seen it. He
took him
saw
4
what he has to
series.
do.
It took him 4 playoff series, but he finally started scoring in the last one. So it's a matter of being able to take that, keep it in your little box in your mind, and then unleash it when we get back to the playoffs again with him.
Right, exactly. And I'm not sure what he, excuse me. I'm not sure what he did differently in the Seattle series compared to the Vegas series, but maybe it was just the type of team that he played. I don't know. And maybe he's just not suited for like playoff hockey with all the robustness that it is.
I think it was his determination. I mean, every single time that Vegas series,
I think it was all a psychological thing, in my opinion.
It could have been, but I really think it was a determination thing, because in the Seattle series, he was, both Seattle and Vegas are like one of the best shot blockers in the league, and in the Seattle series, he was shooting and it was getting blocked, and he was getting frustrated, very obviously. But when we got to the Vegas series, it was getting blocked, and he would just slap at it again, over and over and over again, keep slapping every time, even if it gets blocked. If it gets blocked, comes back to you, slap it again every single time. And that's why I think we saw him get 5 goals in the last series.
So that's the only reason why I would do one less plus for him. He got an A++. Pavelski gets an A+++. Just literally just based off of the fact that he didn't come up so much in the first 2 series. Okay, let's move on. This one's going to be an interesting one. Let's talk about this player, Mason Marchment. He started so well.
Quite the unfortunate season, in my opinion, because I mean, he like you said, he started really well, and then he went on one of the biggest droughts ever, like of his entire career, and it's tough because when he did finally get back on it again, when he started playing like himself again, he looked like what we needed him to do, but it was just like, we missed him for half the season. He was on the ice, but he wasn't there. Pretty tough.
Just
the other thing I'll say, though, is that he was great in the playoffs. I mean, he scored. Him and Dadonov scored a lot of 5-on-5 goals in that first series. I think they scored 5 combined. Dadonov had 3 and he had 2.
I don't know. And let's discuss this too.
And he was hurt for a little bit too. I mean,
he was hurt.
He played 68 games, 12 goals, 19 assists, 31 points.
But the thing that kind of sticks out to me is a couple of things. This was his first year in Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's a big contract, and this is something.
And it was the toughest year of his life last year.
Right, and he lost his dad right before he signed a contract with the Stars. Extremely unfortunate. And Brian Marchment, he passed away right before the draft, actually. And his dad was a scout for the San Jose Sharks. But so he had to deal with that. And I mean, that can seriously take a toll on somebody. And I mean, like you said, he had an injury for points in the season. And he was gone for about a month, I think. And he played the last 2 games of the regular season.
He played the last.
Can't remember. Something like that.
The very last game he played.
That can't be easy for him. But if you're, and it's not fair, but you have to strictly look at the expectations going into the season and what he accomplished. At the end, game 6, what line was he on? He was on the fourth
He's on
line.
the fourth line. I didn't think he should have been there.
And no, he did not play well in game 5. He did not. And he was one of the few that did not have a good game in game 5. And he has got to be better. And the thing is we also asked him to come here and score goals. And we thought 20 was there in the pocketbook for him. And I was thinking between 15 and 20.
Yeah.
And he didn't even get to 15. So, and I know it's only 3 away, but the thing is he didn't get there.
It was a tough year with kind of that line being the oddball out. I mean, the second line was the odd one out all season long. We just couldn't find anything to go with Seguin and Marchment. I mean, they could score by themselves sometimes, but it was not happening.
Mm-hmm.
I think a big part of it for me, though, is that players have these droughts like decently often. It happens. You have some seasons where you can't score no matter what you try. And I'm thinking through the entire drought that he went through and all the posts and all the near misses he had. I mean, if he never lost his confidence in the first place, this dude probably scores 25 this year. Like that's how many posts he hit, really. Yeah. And
maybe max 25, but I would say around 20.
I'm saying like max, he probably would have scored 25. But I think he'll be better next year. He's got a full year of this team and how it's going to work under his belt. He'd only played in Florida for 2 years and never played. He played the most games of his season this year, or his career this year, and he got hurt. So I think he will be fine. What we were expecting from him, we didn't get. And in terms of giving him a pass or a fail on the season, okay. But to me, I am going to give him a C-. So he just barely passes. Mm-hmm. Barely passes. He came onto this team. We were expecting a lot. We didn't get a lot from him, but we got enough, I think.
I think we need to see more. If he does the same thing next year, then he absolutely would get a failing grade from me. But I will give him a C- as well.
If he does the same next year, he might be out at the trade deadline. We'll see.
That's true. All right. Your turn. Who you got? Do the one I'm thinking in my head right now.
Jani Hakanpää.
Ah, you got it.
Let's go.
Okay. How did you think his season went?
I thought it went pretty well. We know he's really not supposed to be a top 4 defenseman. But I mean,
I think he's okay as a number 4. I don't think he's okay as a number 3. Ideally, he's a number 5 or a number 6. But for this team, he's not going to be. So
the nice thing about his season this year, I mean, him and Lindell just found something this year, and they were just so solid defensively for most of the year. And they were our penalty kill. They started on the penalty kill every single time. I mean, it was a little bit of a struggle of us in the middle of the season. He had times where we're like, dude, he's got to play better than that. But when you're asking him to play an elevated role on this roster, and we've talked about this, our defense is in some trouble right now, but we'll see how it gets dealt with. But I mean, he ended up playing 19 minutes and 20 seconds a night average, and he played every single game of the season. I don't know what more I want from him. Honestly, like that's pretty solid in terms of, hey, we needed a body to fill up time and not cost us games. And I think he did that role pretty well. B.
So grade wise, what would you give him?
B+.
B+. I was kind of thinking around that average, somewhere around there too. So I really think he just plays like again, I'll say it again. He ideally he's a number 5 or a number 6, but he's not. He could play in a number. He can play in a number 4 role, especially pretty well. So I will also give him a B plus, but I still feel like he can give a little bit more. Do you get that feeling that he could give just a little bit more and play a little bit better?
No, I think you're delusional.
You think I'm delusional? Okay, that's fair. But I don't know. And I have no stats to back it up. I have no eye test to back it up. It is literally just a gut feeling that I feel Hakanpää can be just a little bit better and put in just a little bit more in this, and that would put this team over the edge. I feel like, not completely over the edge. He could be a deciding factor in putting the Stars over the edge next season if we can get back to the big dance and get back to the Stanley Cup final. So, all right. There's a couple of other players that we need to talk about, but let's talk about some other ones. Let's stick with defense. Ryan Suter. Ryan Suter is going to be talked about a ton this offseason. He is going to probably be one of the biggest talking points, if not the talking point around the Dallas Stars, other than Jamie Benn. So how do you think he played this season? And this is so freaking hard. And what grade would you give him, James?
When we're looking at the regular season, and you remember back to the regular season, it's kind of tough because he had a lot of bad games, but he's also the second best defenseman we have on the team right now. So it should not be probably our second defenseman, but he is. And I don't know, playing with Heiskanen, you kind of expect him to get better, but he like redeems himself like crazy in the playoffs, and he plays like a madman for 2 series, and then he just didn't in the conference final, which was sad to say the least. I don't know if that's nerves getting to him, because that was the first time he made it to the conference finals, dude. the dude played in Minnesota like most of his career, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they never made it to a conference final with him. So it's kind of understandable, but at the same time, you think about it, you're like, he blew game 2 for us, though, in the Vegas series. And to me, that was the turning point in the entire series, was the Suter mistake in game 2 towards the end of the game. And it's tough. I don't know. He kind of passes just because he shouldn't be playing this high in the lineup, but I don't like. I give him a C minus. He passes just because he did good in the first 2 rounds. I think if we didn't have Ryan Suter in the first 2 rounds, we probably wouldn't have made it through.
I agree. And those games in the playoffs means like so much more. They mean so much more. And
if only we could get someone to push him down to the second or third pairing, because I really think.
And again, it's another guy
as bad as people think he is. Okay, everyone thinks that he's the worst thing to ever skate, but like he is playing a role that he probably is not suited for anymore, and he's playing with Miro Heiskanen.
He's not suited for
haha, you're so funny. Every expectation that we might have set for him, I mean, he's just bound to fail from the beginning because he's playing with Miro Heiskanen. He's getting outshined every single night.
But he also was very key again, and the reason, like you said, that we won those playoff series, he was a deciding factor, and he played excellent in both of those series. And he just, like you said, he tailed off when we really needed him to. We really needed him to be better in the conference finals, and he wasn't. And there were numerous times during the regular season that you, me, James, you, me, Chris, Dad, anybody that came on this podcast just kind of talked about the fact that he was the biggest loser, and it was just key plays at key times. And maybe that's unfair because he's a defenseman, and forwards don't get vitriolized like defensemen do. But we don't talk about Lindell as much when it comes to stuff like that. We don't talk about Hakanpää as much. We do talk about Hakanpää more than Lindell when it comes to that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then we never discuss it with Miro, because Miro is a freak of nature. He's a machine. So as for a grade for the season, I'll give him a C+ because of the amount of minutes he does play.
Yeah. And we'll just move straight into Esa Lindell because I kind of want to make this point. Here's the difference with Lindell and Suter, though. I mean, they played pretty close to the same amount of minutes per night. Suter played 30 more seconds than Lindell per night on average. And we don't like plus or minus stats, I understand. Suter had a 0, Lindell had a plus 29. That's a really big difference when you're talking about one's playing with Miro Heiskanen and the other's playing with Jani Hakanpää. Yeah. So, it's a problem when the stat is that big of a difference.
Mm-hmm.
So with Esa, plays the same amount of games as Suter, scores 5 more goals than him, but has 6 less assists, 24 points. But I thought Lindell looked fine for the regular season. The playoffs, it was kind of atrocious. I mean, he was our biggest weakness in that Seattle series for multiple games. And whether that's because it was Jani Hakanpää was hurt and he was just trying to play through it and he shouldn't have been trying to play through it, I don't think that really matters as much. And we did see him. He showed up in the Vegas series. I mean, Lindell had a great series against Vegas. He really did. But the first 2 series, it really felt like it had to be Suter to carry us through the first 2 series. And it should have been Lindell. Overall, for the whole series, I think Lindell gets a B just because he's Esa Lindell and he's the most average person ever. Does everything he's supposed to do, but not more than you expect him to do.
I'm going to give him an A-. Again, he's another minute eater. He does way more than I think.
Minute eaters, man. We have 3 minute eaters in our top 4. Yeah, and Miro Heiskanen still plays 25 and a half minutes a night.
That is right. And he plays extremely solid defensively, which is what he's asked to play. That's why he gets 5.5 and Miro gets 8.45. But he is a rock. On this decor. I mean, he can play. He's 100% a top 4. Like, he's one of those guys that is 100% a top 4 defenseman and someone that you can rely upon to be a top 4 defenseman. So for me, that's his grade. I would give him an A- because he's just so solid and you can rely upon him. And again, I'll make the same argument like I did about Luke Glendening. His expectation is he plays the defensive side of the game. You mentioned the plus minus. He also is
20 minutes a night. That's what we expect from him. That's what he made it to almost 5 seconds.
And then also the reason why the penalty kill was one of the best in the league was I think he was a bigger part of that than even Luke Glendening was. So that's just my opinion.
We have a crazy group of penalty killers.
Yeah. This year we definitely did. So all right, we're running out of time pretty quickly, so let's speed round some. All right, Tyler Seguin.
Oh, yikes! We wanted Seguin to have a bounce back year. He did not. He can still play good because we saw it at certain points throughout the season. it's kind of tough because he is coming back from relearning how to walk, and then he got cut on the knee with the skate like late in the season down the stretch. I wanted more from him. He was supposed to be our second line center, and Wyatt took it from him. I mean, we talked about that all season long. We were like, it's not really a second line, third line. But really, I mean, the third line was the second line. They scored more, a lot more. And so that's kind of where it's disappointing a little bit. But again, the circumstances of what Seguin is having to go through right now is kind of ridiculous.
I think you got to look at the expectation of what it was for him at the beginning of the season. I think that with him, that's kind of about what I expected from Tyler Seguin. Is he got, what was it, 21 goals this year?
Yep,
21 goals, 29 assists, 50 points. Maybe a little bit more, maybe more like 60 points. So, I mean, I'll still give him like a B-, but
he only doesn't fail for me because Ben did as good as he did. If Ben played the same as he did last season, Seguin fails completely.
When Hintz went down in the middle of the season, especially,
who
was the guy that stepped up?
It's hard to play bad when you have Jason Robertson and Joe Pavelski on your line.
Yes, but he very easily could have made that line completely ineffective, but he didn't.
But he still had 23 points less than Miro Heiskanen.
Okay, well, Miro Heiskanen, all he has to do is just like shoot the puck at the net, and somehow it makes its way in, or someone gets close, or whatever.
But still, you get what I'm getting at, though.
I get what you're getting at, but
he gets a C- -2 from me. So, okay.
Yeah, move on. Okay.
too many people.
Yeah, too many people we need to talk about. Roope Hintz. Yeah. A+ or A++?
He gets a normal A from me. I think that
what?
Yes, I think he has a lot more there to give. Honestly, I really think he does. And he had an absolutely amazing playoffs. Yes, I think in terms of regular season, there's a lot more there. And if he just shot more, man, if he just takes more shots, he's getting at least another 10 goals next season. He had a 20 shot percentage this season.
20.37 goals. What more do you want from him?
Shoot more. He will have 10 more goals if he shoots more. I'm not kidding. I mean, that line could be way, way crazier, and it's already probably the best line in hockey.
No, it is. Not probably. It is the best line in hockey.
I give him an A because I want more from him, and there is obvious potential to get more from him.
He gets an A++ for me. He does. And when we were looking for somebody to kind of be that guy, especially in the first two series, especially in the Minnesota series, he was the guy. I mean, he had 24 points at the end of the playoffs in 19 games. That's ridiculous. So that's why he gets an A++ for me. It's not just his play in the regular season, which was exactly what I expected, if not maybe even a little bit more. His play in the playoffs showed that he is the elite forward that we talked about a year and a half ago when we were discussing, this team needs an elite forward, and we don't really have one right now because Seguin and Ben had dropped down, and Hintz and Robertson looked like they were kind of going over there. And then we all said, Hintz is the guy. He's the elite forward. He's next. And then the other thing that he does so amazingly is he plays in every single freaking situation, James.
He does.
He plays on the power play. He plays on the penalty kill. He plays in random situations that you wouldn't expect him. He is one of the best defensive forwards in the NHL, in my opinion. And he will win the Selke at some point in his career. He's still young, and he's still going to do it. It's just Bergeron has to retire before he's able to win the dang thing. But he's so good defensively. I mean, as good as we talk about Robertson being good offensively, and Robertson is good defensively as well, Roope Hintz is just that much better defensively than Robertson is. So I think he's such a two-way player.
I think the main problem with me is that there's still someone on his line who plays defense better. I think Joe Pavelski plays defense better than him. Now, back checking wise, Rope Hintz hasn't beat every single day of the week.
Okay, well, it's not fair. He's got all the speed in the. He's got Connor McDavid speed, so it's
but Joe Pavelski is absolutely insane on defense. That's kind of where I come from too. Okay,
and here you go, Joe Baker. Hold on 1 second. Domi said it best: when you create a player in NHL 2023, Hintz is the guy you make. That's exactly right. He's the perfect player. Okay, Miro Heiskanen, go for it.
Miro Heiskanen. Do we even have to say anything? He has like S with like a bajillion pluses.
He does everything for this team.
He plays 5.5 minutes more than anyone else every single night. What? And he's our fifth best on goal scorer. What?
Had what, 60 something assists this year?
62 assists, 11 goals.
He only had one less than Jason Robertson did.
Yeah.
That is crazy. It's absolutely
crazy. You can't ask more from him. I mean, the biggest thing with us is the way he defends with his stick. He can do no wrong. he really can't. And even when he does wrong, it's okay because he probably won us 3 or 4 games 2 weeks ago.
All right. And
Wyatt Johnston.
Yeah, we need to talk about Wyatt Johnston. Wyatt Johnston, what do you think? No. Miro, I'll give him an S plus, like you said. So, I mean, it's not even close. He's by far the best player on the Stars. Okay, go for
Wyatt Johnston. Wyatt Johnston gets an easy S from me. No pluses, but he gets an S.
Because he's not Miro.
What more could you expect from a 19-year-old? I mean, he
and a rookie. We did not expect this. Nobody expected this.
We were expecting him to play. We weren't expecting him to be that good. He played every single game and ended the season with 41 points, 24 goals, 17 assists. And the big thing is he never hit a wall. I mean, those goals and assists are consistent through the entire season. He didn't have like a drought or anything. And he's obviously a reason why Ben did as well as he did in his comeback season. I mean, he played third line center, and he was the center. He played center. Ben played wing. He was the center for that line, and he did absolutely amazing. I can't believe he didn't even finish in top 3 in Calder votes. That's a joke. But
he didn't get it. Yeah.
But easy S season.
I'm agree with you there. Absolutely. He deserves the distinction here. He deserves an S for this, just for super. I mean, I did not expect him to score that many goals this year. And when I called him out at the beginning of the season and I said, he's going to be the Stars rookie out of him, Bork, or Stankoven that's going to make the team. I said he was going to make the team, but I mean, I was thinking like 10, 15 goals at most.
Nice.
Yeah, and he scores 24 this year. So
a monster.
He's absolutely ridiculous. And you know what? I think he could score 40 in his career. Now, I'm not saying he's going to do that next year. I'm not saying he's going to do that next year, but I mean, is 30 out of the question for Wyatt Johnston next season? I don't think so.
You got that weird sophomore slump thing that lots of players go through. We'll see how they deal with it, but we got to move on. So, Ty Dellandrea.
I mean, he's exactly what I expected, but he was better than
all tool. He does everything.
Yeah. He's a Swiss Army knife.
Nothing perfectly, but he does everything.
Jack of all trades, master of none.
He played on every single line except for the first.
The top line. Yep.
And he played on the penalty kill and he played on the power play at times. I mean, you could throw him anywhere. Yeah. I'm going to give him an A-. You could throw him anywhere and he just did stuff.
And then the other thing is just what he battled through the last couple of years to get here too, right? So he is fully just like Robe Hintz. So Robe Hintz, he came up here, he did pretty well to start off with, and he went back down to the AHL, came back, and he's never gone back to the AHL, and now he's one of the best players in the NHL. Ty Dellandrea, I don't expect him to ever get to that first round status like we see some people expect him to be scoring 20, 30 goals every season. But he was so good this season. I mean, how often do we say that he was the only one giving max effort?
Yeah. And
I mean, seriously.
He's still only 22. I mean, he's going to get better. He really is. And a lot of his development is screwed up just from the COVID years. I mean, he was on the taxi squad for the entire playoffs in the bubble and then the following season. It's tough to get anything done when you're constantly just on standby. You're not playing games.
Mm-hmm.
And he played one season in the AHL last year. I mean, he played 26 games for us in that COVID shortened season, which was 56 games. And then the next year he played one. He played one game. We put him in the AHL the entire time. And then he comes in this year and he played every single game. Every single game.
And played well.
Yes. He really has, I think he has a lot more to go. And I think that he can get there. I really think that we're at least going to see a 15-goal season from him, in my opinion.
I'd be happy with 10. I mean, he's going to get there. I think he's found himself a role on the team that a lot of people didn't expect him to take. Like, you know, he might have been seen as like a middle six forward, but now he's kind of carved himself out a niche as a bottom six forward, kind of like Radek Faksa in a way. Radek Faksa was a first round pick. A lot of people expected him to be more of an offensive player, but Faksa means a lot to this team more than people realize. And
speaking of Faksa,
yeah,
we haven't talked about Faksa yet.
I know, yeah. So anyway, Dellandrea, you said A-, I said B+.
I said A-, you said B+. Faksa gets a B. Same thing as Lindell with me. He does what he's supposed to. He does what we expect him to do, and he does it well.
Yep, I'll give him a B+ for that as well. That's enough. That's enough on Faksa, I guess.
Yeah,
because
he does win a lot of.
He does win a lot of draws too.
Yeah, there's a lot of like other players that we kind of need to talk about in a different one because they only played like 20 or less games. Like our free agents, Hanley, Harley.
Yeah,
kind of want to talk about.
We'll get into that. Yeah, but we're already an hour in. But
there's one more that we should talk about, and it's Colin Miller because he played 79 games for this team. 79 regular season games. He played the whole season.
Pretty much. But in the playoffs, he was getting scratched and Hanley was getting in.
He was kind of unusable, which is really tough because he played so well for most of the season. I thought he was having a great season. And we made it to the very end, and we made it into the playoffs, and he was just he wasn't usable. He was making too many dumb mistakes. We chose Hanley over him. Like I don't think we really need to say more other than that. Colin Miller is the other fail on this roster, I think.
I wouldn't say that he failed because
he failed. We needed him to come in and at least play on the third pairing. And he didn't do that.
Well, he kind of got thrown with Miro Heiskanen at points. He had a lot of different, D partners. I'm not going to fail him for that.
I'm failing him.
What James is like, I don't care what you say. I'm failing him. What I really would like to see him do is I would like to see him use his bomb of a shot more often. I mean,
which I thought he was late in the regular season,
right?
And then it went away in the playoffs.
See it more. Yeah, exactly. We need to see it more, and maybe when he uses that shot, he gets exposed defensively for his defensive miscues. But I mean, again, I would just like to see him use that bomb of a shot that he has because not many people have the shot that he does. And I mean, even Miro Heiskanen doesn't have the slap shot that he does. If he can get that thing more accurate and realize that he's got a weapon there, he might be able to kind of carve himself a spot in the lineup just because of his shot. And I mean, I don't know. What do you think?
No, you're right.
Yeah. Okay.
We just got one more player to talk about that I missed.
All right.
Yoel Kiviranta. I love this player.
B-.
We wanted more out of him, honestly.
C+.
I thought he had more to give. But at the end of the day, he's a fourth liner, and he's a Stars legend for scoring a hat trick in Game 7 against the Avalanche, which is why we have him around. He gets a C.
I think there's some truth to that.
He gets a C.
I'll give him a C+.
I would be so upset if we didn't have him, but he gets a C.
I don't know if he's coming back.
He might not.
We're already getting into that. It's already too late. We'll talk about
we
that.
Already
on
went an hour.
Episode, yeah, but guys, there's so much to talk about with this team. How is Ben gonna do next season? Stankoven. What's his role gonna be with the team next year? He's making the roster. Okay, let's just be honest. He's making the roster. What is he gonna do? What is Jim Nill gonna do defensively on with the D core? Because that is the reason why we didn't make the Stanley Cup final, in my own opinion. I mean, we had the forwards to match up against Vegas. We had the goaltending against Vegas. It just Otter was hurt. And then our D core really got exposed for what they were in the series against Vegas. So I think that's the biggest point. But there's so many other topics that I'm obviously not even thinking about right now. I mean, Pete DeBoer, how did he do in his first year? And is it only going to get worse from here? Because that's just what happens with Pete DeBoer teams. Mm-hmm. The first year is really good, and it just gets worse from there. No, there's so many things. A little different. I feel this is a little different. So I am going to leave you with this one stat. 1997, the Dallas Stars lost in the first round in Game 7 in overtime. In 1998, they lose the conference final in 6 games. And then we all know what they did in 1999. 2021. No, 2022, excuse me. 2022, the Dallas Stars lose in 7 games in the first round
to the Calgary Flames.
This season, we lose the conference final in 6 games.
To the Vegas Golden Knights.
To be determined. But if we try to find patterns in history, which history tends to repeat itself, right?
Oh, it does?
I think it does. Yeah.
I've heard that.
Then we're Stanley Cup champions next year.
Oh, dang it, Ryan! You're not supposed to say that. You're supposed to just leave it.
It is what it is. It is
what it is.
Okay. All right. I'm exhausted. I've got so much crap to do. We're actually moving tomorrow. We're moving into our house. So yeah, I'm doing this. Exactly. So, but anyways, guys, we appreciate y'all who are listening live. Up to this point, we've had up to 14 people who are listening live at the most. We appreciate y'all staying up late with us on a Wednesday night. Our off-season plans. We have lots of plans. Interviews coming up. We're also going to probably continue doing the Stars fan stories as well this off-season. That's going to be interesting to see how that goes. And then we will be continuing to do regular Wednesday night episodes at 10:15 throughout the off-season. And if there's something big that happens, we may do a special episode some random night as well. But lots of plans going forward. We're excited to give you guys some Stars content to kind of get you guys ready for the next season. And then we might even do some Stanley Cup discussion as well. That'll be kind of fun, seeing who is going to win the Stanley Cup final. I think I'm rooting for the Panthers here, James. I'm a little biased. So
what do you mean?
What are you talking about?
What could you be talking about?
Anyways, once again, thanks to DraftKings and Raycon for being our sponsors. We appreciate them. James, I think Chris will probably be able to do an episode with us soon, so we'll try and get him on an episode. But I don't know. He's been away for a while. We miss him.
He'll be back at some point. At most, like
some point.
3-4 weeks. He'll be back though. He'll be
Right.
back.
Right. And if you liked anything you heard here tonight or whenever you're listening, please consider leaving us a 5-star review. That's the best way for us to grow. So we'd really appreciate that. And then, as always, best way to support us is sarcasticremarksshop.com. Along with James, my name is Brian. We will catch you guys on the flip side. We hope you guys have a good, fantastic morning, afternoon, evening. And as always, go Stars.